Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Multiplayer Gaming Podcast. We like to come to you guys weekly with a multiplayer game that we break down and talk a little bit about what it feels like to play and whether it's something that you guys might want to check out as well. And I am your host, Paul, and this week we're going to be taking a look at a game called Escape from Tarkov. And joining me, my Russian compadre. He just finished negotiating insurance rates with a Russian trader on his newest assault rifle and body armor, Josh.
Netseviev. Greetings, comrade.
I didn't bring a translator with me. I didn't know we'd be doing this in Russian.
I have no idea what I just said, but it sounded really Russian. So
it was not bad. Yeah, and of course we are currently missing our third person here on the podcast, and Todd's baby was born here earlier today.
Congrats, Todd!
Yeah, congratulations to Todd and his wife, who is my sister-in-law. So of course, our best wishes and our prayers go out to Todd's family right now. I was a little disappointed they didn't name their son Todd Jr., but that's okay. We can let it slide.
Or Josh. I mean, they could have named it Josh, too.
Yeah, that could have worked.
Yeah.
So before diving straight into Escape from Tarkov, we usually spend a couple of minutes just kind of catching up, see what's been going on here during the week. How are you holding up right now, Josh? What's been going on in your world?
Dude, a ton of stuff, man. We were almost late recording because I've got like a drywall guy in my house. Like we had a ceiling fan put up, but it was a nightmare because there was no outlet right there. You would think in 2020 it would be easier to get electricity to places that don't have electricity in your house without tearing up half of your house to do it. And then, man, I just, we started playing, this is a little prelude, but we started playing some Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah.
And that game is surprisingly fun, man.
It is so much fun that I missed the first session that our friend group played. And then I downloaded it separately and started playing, and I've already beaten it for the first difficulty.
Yeah,
like,
way
that's
to wait
how much
for me.
Yeah. So I've been really surprised at how fun it is. I was never a Minecraft fan, never played it, but I thought Minecraft Dungeons is a lot of fun, and I think it'll be probably a future episode at some point.
Yeah, that was a little foreshadowing there. I'm sure it might be coming up in the next few weeks.
Yep. You doing okay, Josh? You didn't catch COVID, did you?
No.
Okay. Well, I have a little bit of fun news. So, recently my gaming experience has been a little bit subpar. I have some old equipment here while gaming, and I decided maybe it was.
Wait. I gotta stop you. Your equipment's not old. Your equipment is abused. Why don't you tell people what you've done to your equipment?
Hold on. Before we get there, okay. So some of my equipment's old. I didn't talk about what parts yet.
All right.
Some of my equipment's old, and I decided it's time for some upgrading. Right? I want the best gaming experience possible.
Always fun.
So I upgraded the singular most important part of gaming equipment. And do you know what that is, Josh?
Oh, I mean, this is a trick question, man. Your monitor. No, you've got nice monitors.
Yeah, I do have nice monitors. Nope. My office fan.
Oh, yes. Dude.
My office fan. Now, for anyone listening out there who is new to our podcast, we live just outside of Phoenix, Arizona, which might as well be 12 feet away from the surface of the sun.
It is insanely hot.
Yes. It is now June. Today's high was 110. Tomorrow's 111. And my desk is in the corner of one of the hottest rooms of the house, and it's right next to a massive window. And when we would get done with our gaming sessions, I would stand up and the underneath of my knees would be sweaty.
Oh, the knee pit sweat.
Yeah, the knee pit sweat. So I upgraded the office fan.
Dude, that is the first upgrade when it comes to upgrading your office computer space in Arizona.
Yes.
You know what it is? I'm with you, man. My computer room is an office that's all over to the one side of the house. It's about as far away from the air conditioning as possible, so this room does not get super good airflow. And then when you have, a gaming PC, I'm pretty sure this thing cranks out, 1.21 gigawatts of heat per hour. It's just miserable, man.
It really is. And it's funny because in Phoenix, it's so hot here. We actually do discuss our fan strategies with one another. Like, I am not even joking. Like, maybe if you live in New Mexico or Florida or Texas, maybe you understand what I'm talking about. Maybe you do the same as us. But Josh, you have some very, very personal, specialized strategies here with your fans.
We're all friends here, Paul, and as friends, we're allowed to share our creative ideas and our MacGyver moments. And I just remember I used to have like a nice like gaming chair. I did some streaming for a little while, and you got to have the big gaming chair. But the issue with those things is they're hot. They don't breathe. Like, they're made to look cool, but they're not made to like keep you cool. So I would get like the worst like butt sweat imaginable. and I mean, we all deal with this from time to time. So, a 3-hour gaming session, it's gross. So I MacGyvered up what I call, and I have dubbed, the Jewel Cool. I was so proud of this, man. I remember hopping into chat and telling all of you guys, I was like, guys, I had the greatest idea. And you're like, what? And I'm like, I put a fan under my desk. And then you guys are like, so? And I'm like, no, I mounted it where it blows, like in the perfect spots.
Blowing right up the legs, right up the pants.
And then all of you guys were just like, oh. And then you guys were like, oh, like that's not the worst idea in the world.
Yep, when your office fan isn't strong enough, you might need the Jewel Cool.
It's a wonderful thing. I'm willing to sell the rights, for the right price. So if there's anybody out there that wants to buy the rights to the Jewel Cool, Josh at multiplayerpod.com.
So funny, man. It's so great that you even came up with a special trademarked name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so more seriously though, I did actually make some upgrades to my computer. I started getting blue screens of death left and right. Like, we would start playing the cycle, and every single time during my second run, it would go blue screen of death. I'd have to restart, and I did end up ordering a new processor and motherboard. And then what was funny is I was Googling more and more and more, and I read that sometimes this can be an issue with voltage, with overclocked processors. So I go into my BIOS, and I've had it overclocked for 40% for the last 5 years since I bought.
I remember asking you, you're like, oh, I think it might be my overclock. And I'm like, oh, cool. What are you at? Like 15, like, 18%? And you're like, no, I'm at 40%. And I just remember like my jaw hitting the ground.
Dude, yeah, like, I mean,
40% overclock? Like
40% over. I had an i5 4690K, really workhorse processor, super popular. My case had, I think, like 7 fans plus a really nice, processor fan. So it's been overclocked for years. And after I order all these new computer parts, because I had to order the processor, the motherboard, I ordered some new RAM. And then as soon as I lowered it from 40% to 20%, it has worked like a charm ever since.
Yeah. All of a sudden, system stability exists again, right? Because your processor's not gasping its last breath.
Yeah. So I don't know if my processor's on its last legs, or maybe as games have become more and more draining of your hardware, maybe it's now reached the point where that was too much. But in any case, hey, I have some new hardware. It's all installed. It's good to go now. So, it was an excuse to upgrade.
There's nothing more fun than like ordering computer parts, waiting for them to show up in the mail. It's like Christmas. It really is. Like, the boxes are cool. Like, the parts show up. You're so excited. It's work. I mean, if you're processors and motherboards, you got to reinstall Windows and all that stuff. I mean, it's definitely a task, but I don't know, man. I love it. I love building computers and upgrading stuff and then booting it up and being like, ooh, let me see how everything runs now. And
you want to hear the worst part of having to reinstall everything on a new build? Do you know how many gaming launchers we use, Josh?
Wait, let me see if I can name them.
Sure.
Origin, Uplay, Epic, Steam, GOG,
Riot Games.
Riot, because Valorant just released today.
Did you say Battle.net?
How did I forget about Battle.net?
And Battle State Games Launcher, which is what
Tarkov
uses.
That's right. Oh my goodness. So what's that, 7 or 8?
Yeah, I had to download like 8 different gaming launchers, let alone the games themselves. So Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, for gaming lately, I feel like we have been gaming, but it hasn't been terribly focused. Like just in the last week, we have played Golf Club 2019, Minecraft Dungeons, The Cycle, Valorant just released, playing more of that. I've even been playing Marvel Alliance 3 on the Switch with my son, having a blast with that. So I feel like we've been playing a lot, and I know this might be a sore spot for you, Josh, and I am kind of surprising you with this on the show, but I did think that we should bring up the Rocket League tournament.
No, oh, don't bring that up, man.
Is this going to bum you out too much?
Dang it.
So I don't know if we've mentioned it at all on the pod, but our city, in the midst of the COVID-19 outbreak, it has set up a tournament for people to play Rocket League in teams of 3.
Which is great. That's like, what a cool thing for local city to do.
Yes. Great idea. You can't go outdoors. You can't, organize things on the city level outside. So why not get into some, gaming? And what's funny is my son ran across an advertisement for this and started signing himself up. And then I hear that you and a couple of our other buddies all signed up. And that's when it dawned on me that my 10-year-old son with his 8 and 10-year-old teammates were signing up for a tournament that's going up against teenagers and adults.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yes. So I feel really bad. They are now... How many weeks have you guys played? 3, 4?
This was our 3rd week. We play on Saturday, so just Saturday was our 3rd game.
Okay, so fun. Yeah, so my poor son is 0-3, and I think that they are just vastly outnumbered by more experienced older gamers. So it's been a little sad to see. How has your team been going, Josh?
Paul, I don't want to talk about it, man. It's not good. The first week the team we played the first round, because it's a best of 5 series, we won the first round 10-0, and then they quit and they never came back to finish the series. So we won the first week. Second week, I don't even know if I can share this on the air, man. This is my Rocket League pride is at stake. So, all right, I'm going to share an embarrassing story because I got no shame. Second week, we're playing the team. The team messages me on Discord and said, "Hey, we only have 2. Do you guys still want to play?" And we said, "Sure. If you guys want to play with 2, that's fine."
You didn't lose 2v3,
Dude,
did you?
Shut your face, Paul. Yes, we lost 2v3.
I did not know this.
Oh my goodness, but we didn't want to tell anybody. Okay,
man.
Number 1, most embarrassing Rocket League loss of my entire life. Okay, I'm going to put that out there. I'm not proud of it. It was, we were just crushed. But yes, they beat us 2v3. We got completely out of rhythm because we're not used to playing 2 people when you do 3v3s.
Yeah,
and
totally
I think
different.
it just completely just threw us off. I mean, credit to them. They were super good too, but I'm still really embarrassed about that. And then last week we lost. It was a 3v3, and then we lost. We won one game of the series and then lost the others, and it sucked. You know what's funny, man? It's something about the tournament and like trying too hard. And I think a lot of gamers can probably relate to that if we just were like laid back, just playing and not worrying about it, like we play fine. But as soon as we're like, oh, there's something on the line, like we get completely out of rhythm and then it just falls apart. So anyway, you
got to play loose.
Yeah,
you generally do better. Yeah, well, that's a bummer. It was funny. I could tell how discouraged you guys were because a lot of times we'll game on Saturday afternoons. And my day-to-day job is actually as a foster parent trainer and licensing worker. And I always have to teach foster training classes on Saturday mornings. And as soon as my class ended, I tagged all of you guys. I was like, hey, you guys want to hop on, play some golf? And all I get back are, I just need a gaming break right now, man. And that's like what all 3 of you said. And I was like, oh, you guys have been playing all morning? And then it was like, we just lost horribly. And I was like, oh,
that
no.
was the 2v3.
They lost again.
That was the 2v3 match.
That was the 2v3.
Dude, I couldn't look my computer in the eye after that. It was terrible.
Yeah, I just thought that was so funny. I was so excited to hop in gaming and you guys were all demoralized.
It's like, I want to like apologize to the people listening. Like, I'm sorry I sucked that week, guys. You know what I mean? Like, I pride myself in being a good gamer, and I'm sorry. But...
Well, no, you guys are all very good Rocket League players. Like, I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, you guys are very good. I honestly, I even said after you guys lost in week 2, I just assumed you guys would win every game handily and it would be over. So I can't believe that there are people in this tournament better than you guys.
Yeah, because it's a local, like, city league. That's what's killing me, you know?
Yeah.
I could understand if this was a nationwide league, but anyway, I mean, yeah, it was embarrassing, but that's why we all just hopped off right away. We couldn't even play games after that.
Well, you guys aren't out of it yet. Still got a few more weeks and then playoffs. So, you know, we'll have to check in on the Rocket League tournament and see how you guys are doing.
If we lose again and you ask me live again, I'm just going to break down into tears.
I'll just keep railroading you week after week.
Oh, that'd be so mean.
It'll be called the Everybody Hurts by REM segment.
We need to play the song.
Just play it in the background. Yeah. Oh, boy. All right. Well, is there anything else to catch up on before we jump into Tarkov this week?
No, I mean, gaming news-wise, Valorant released, I think it was yesterday, actually. I was busy yesterday, didn't get a chance. But they released some new game modes, which is cool. So, I mean, I know we had our Valorant episode, and it was in beta, and it was hard to get into, but it's officially released now. So for those of you that might have been interested, it's free to play. I think it's amazing. Definitely go pick it up, check it out. But they added some cool game modes, which I think is neat. They shortened the play times. You know, it used to take an hour commitment, and now they have different game modes where it's like 10 minutes for a game, which is one of the best things I think they could have done there. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm looking forward to playing.
Yeah, me too. The new character that I haven't played yet, shorter matches. I mean, I think the long matches was really the only real bad thing I had to say about it. So I'm pumped. Yeah. We'll have to hop back in.
Too. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it in between that and some Minecraft dungeons.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, I think that's it for this week, so let's go ahead and hop into our game of the week.
Let's do it.
All right, Escape from Tarkov. That's what we're covering here today. This game, I will note, is still in beta. However, it has been released in some form since 2016. All right,
so it has. Beta.
It's a very long beta. It has been out here for a little while, although it really didn't catch fire here in America until really not all that long ago. And so to kick things off here, I thought I'd go ahead and read a little bit of a description of the game, and then we'll go ahead and jump into reviewing the game this week. Escape from Tarkov is a hardcore and realistic online first-person action RPG with MMO features developed by Russian-based game developer Battlestate Games. Set in the fictional Norvinsk region located on the frontier between Russia and Europe, the metropolis of Tarkov was plunged into anarchy thanks to the contract wars. What was once a bustling city is now roamed by rivaling scavenger gangs, former private military forces, and black ops units. Between them all, there's you, your stash, and the escape back to the free world from the depths of Tarkov.
Wow, that sounds so serious.
Yeah, it really does.
They throw it as a role-playing game. I do not view this as a role-playing game, first of all. Like, I think that's trying to, like, hit one of them keywords.
Yeah. I mean, calling it a role-playing game and even MMO features.
Yeah, no.
Not really.
No. That's a little stretch of the imagination. So I kind of want to start off by, telling people just kind of how we're approaching this, right? Is we definitely like to bring you guys new games every week, but we're not always going to be experts on those games. And we want to talk to you guys about it with that in mind. What are our first impressions? How do we feel about this game with not having hundreds of hours into it? And Tarkov is going to be that for us. We have played it. We've played it a decent bit. I don't want to pretend to be an expert because I'm not. I don't have hundreds of hours in this game.
Right. Yeah, and the funny thing is about reviewing Escape from Tarkov is that last week we just took a look at Far Cry 5, and could we not have two games that are any more different? I mean, Far Cry being co-op based, it has pretty easy combat, but it's like it has some serious elements, but it's still very lighthearted in a lot of the missions where you just kind of run around and you goof off, you create a lot of chaos. This game is dark, slow, brutal learning curve. It's
serious. It's a serious game.
There is no game I've played that is more serious than Tarkov. It could not be any more different than our game last week.
So maybe we should talk about this game a little bit for people that aren't familiar with it. I mean, I feel like it's pretty popular. Most people have heard of it at least, but I think a lot of people don't know exactly what it is either.
Yeah, go into it. Tell us about the mechanics of this game, because it is very unique in that regard.
In Tarkov, you are dropped into a map with your character, and the goal is it's not a battle royale. The goal is not to be the last man standing. The goal is basically to go out there and collect the loot and then extract your way out. And then once you do that, you get to keep that loot. So this is more like a permanent like loot hunter.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's like a thing, but you know, that's really the kind of gameplay loop is this, you know, go into the world, try to kill other people. If you kill somebody, you get to take their loot. Like this is permanent. This is like Rust type, you know, whatever you had on you, you lose. The people are going to take it.
This is Pogs for keeps. If you played Pogs back in the day.
I mean, legitimately it is. And so that adds this dynamic to the game of like, that's why it's serious, man. Like, dude, you're going to lose all your stuff. If you kill somebody, you get to take all their stuff. It's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you can actually play entire rounds and never fight anybody. You know, you just go out there, you loot, you start heading toward the extraction, and if you don't hear gunshots nearby or if you don't run into anyone, you might not fight at all. So the game is more based on loot than anything else, and if you run into people, you have to quickly decide, do I want to engage or do I want to try to slip away? One thing that I thought we should talk about a little bit that the description did get correct is that it is hardcore and realistic. So the game is hardcore. Some would probably argue punishingly frustrating, kind of for no reason. So for example, one of the elements that's more hardcore is that you drop into this game and there is no tutorial. They do not teach you anything about the buttons, which I want to get into in a moment here because this game has more key bindings than any game I've ever played. No tutorial. You pop in. There's no map in this game. So if you don't know the map layout, then you don't even know where your extraction point is. They're not going to hold your hand in any way. You know, you don't even have a compass.
This game is not for the faint of heart. I mean, honestly, I think that's why some people love it. Like, there are a lot of very, very avid fans of this game. And then I think there's people that have maybe tried it and then been really intimidated by it. You described it perfectly. No compass, no map. I mean, your HUD is only... you don't even know how much ammo you have.
No.
Like, your HUD is only like how much stamina you have from running and whether your character is kneeling, standing, or laying down. And that's it.
Let's talk about some of the controls and the key bindings, because this is kind of wild to me. So if you pick up a gun, you have no idea how much ammo it has, but if you hold left alt plus T, then he will look at the gun and give you an estimation if it's roughly half full, or nearly empty, and that's about all you know. And that's part of, again, what makes this game a little more hardcore, but it also can be a little bit frustrating because you're left with a severe lack of information while you play this game.
I remember pulling up the key bindings for Tarkov, and it's like 8,000 pages worth of key binds. I have never in my life seen anything like it. Like, okay, this game has leaning. Okay, cool. I'm going to bind that. Like, yeah, you need to peek corners and stuff. I've played Rainbow Six and I get that. And then it's like, all right, well, wait a minute. What's this smooth lean? Oh, sharp lean. What the heck is that? And then it's like, oh, okay, check magazine, check ammo. And it's these weird keybinds of like Alt T, Alt Shift T.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be a world record pianist to be able to play this and know all these key bindings. It's nuts, man.
This game even has multiple reloads. If you quickly tap R, he will pull out the magazine, chuck it on the ground, and then grab the next one, and it's a lot faster, but now you've lost your magazine. And so the fact that there are multiple leans, multiple reloads, even it's not even just walk, run, or crouch. you also then can hold Alt and scroll your mouse wheel up and down to control the individual speeds of all of those. So you can do a fast crouch, you can do a crouch that barely moves that makes less sound. I mean, this game gives you a million controls in that sense. You can fold up the stock on your gun. I've never seen that in a game. You can be running around with your Uzi with a stock and you can fold it up if you just, I don't know, don't want the extra stability, I guess. I don't even know the benefit, but they let you do it.
I mean, clearly we are still new to this game, and I'm sure there are benefits to all of this stuff. But man, is it overwhelming.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, at some point, like, the competitive side of me goes, do I need to know this? Do I need to do this to be good at this game? Like, I don't know.
Do I need to enroll in a class?
Right. Yeah. Like, do I need a tutor that's going to teach me how to do all these keybinds quickly?
Yeah. So let's try to go back in time mentally here. Think about when we first started playing Tarkov. So for us, that was actually about 6 months ago. And do you want to talk a little bit about our early experience, what the state of Tarkov was at the time?
We bought the game. Initially, it was very cool for us because we had I mean, I think 4 is the max group maybe, but we had a full group. We had people that were experienced to show us what was going on, and it was a blast. Like, I remember being super hyped for this until the world came crashing down. And that's because at the time they were not prepared for the amount of people that were playing this game.
Yep.
And it was legitimately a 20 to 30 minute queue.
Ooh, if you were lucky.
If you were lucky, every single time you wanted to play.
It sometimes would be 45 to 60 minutes. And you might die immediately as soon as you get in that game.
That's why we wound up getting out of it again. I mean, this was 6 months ago, and I think we just said, look, we really like this game, but I'm not gonna sit through these queue times.
Yeah, and if you die, you don't get to observe your teammates. Like, you're just stuck, go browse Reddit or go play Minesweeper or something until your team's done, because you have nothing to do until the match ends. And some of these matches, you have a full 40 minutes to go loot and go reach the extractions. So some of these matches, obviously you can extract sooner than that if you choose, but some of these games do last a very long time. All right, so Josh, I feel like you had a little more of an optimistic look at it. I tend to remember the terrible queue times and the extraction camping. So every single map only had 2 possible extractions, and the smart people learned, instead of me looting for 40 minutes and maybe I get into one fight, I'm just going to lay down next to the extraction and I'm going to kill people when they run up. I'll grab their loot and then I'll extract myself. And, one of the things that is really interesting is how this game has evolved over the last several months. And I think probably the best thing that they did is now you have to double tap O twice. This is not a joke. These are the key bindings. And it will tell you what possible extractions you can use. And now there's like a list of, I don't know, maybe 20 different extraction points, so you can no longer just camp one. The likelihood that you run into anybody is actually pretty low. So that's a fantastic change that they made.
Yeah, I like that the extraction points move, and even though a map may have, like you said, like 20 different ones, your character will only have like 5 that are actually live for that round. I mean, people are still going to camp. There's still your high traffic areas in certain maps. I mean, nothing's going to change that necessarily, but I mean, I think it's neat. It's terrifying. When you extract, it doesn't take real long to extract. You just have to make it to the zone and then stand there for like 5-10 seconds at most. But when you're watching that timer countdown, man, like your heart's racing, 'cause especially if you've got like really good gear that you found that map and you want to get out. Queue times are a lot better now. I mean, I think on average we wait 3 minutes?
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, they're completely acceptable now. That is personally what ran me off of the game 6 months ago. Is I know we just said, look, let's shelve it. We'll come back to it when they fix these issues.
Yeah. So I think they're definitely moving in the right direction. They seem to be recognizing what people are upset about and then making proper adjustments to make it more palatable. Now moving on here to the next little, mini segment. I don't really have a name for it. last week's episode, I called it Remember the 5th of November, because it was just a placeholder. and on my outline here, I just wrote story time. So I don't know. We need some kind of name for story time. I was trying to play with like Never Ending Story, or like
it's the Never Ending Story.
Memories by Maroon 5. I couldn't come up with anything. So anyway, story time. Do you have any particular memorable stories as you think back on Tarkov? Because I can think of one for me, but do you have any?
I don't have any that honestly like really stand out in my mind.
For me, the one story that really sticks out is actually my very first match, which was not with you, Josh, but I know you've heard us talk about it. I queued in with Todd and our friend Orion, and at that time, I don't know if you could actually team up when you were running scavs. At the time, I think we either didn't understand it or you couldn't. So you couldn't. So we would all have to describe what your scav looks like. So we'd be like, all right, my guy has a respirator and a green beanie, and I've got this like really long rifle. And then you pop in the game, you try to figure out where to meet because there's no coordinates or anything. And immediately you see someone and you start doing that. Is that you? Is that you? Jump up and down. Shake your head. No. Is that you? Todd, is that you? And
I'm going to shoot you if you don't answer me.
Exactly. And this was in the days of the long queues. So it was like, I think about a 25 minute queue to get in. We all meet each other at the top of these stairs, like in a hardware store. And so 20 minute queue, 7 or 8 minutes just to find each other. We finally do. We start tiptoeing around, and I say, all right, guys, I'm going to go loot by those registers, because they're like normal aisles with, lanes and registers. So I go over there. I'm not there for more than 40 seconds. Todd lights me up, immediately kills me, and says, I didn't know that was you. And I'm like, Todd, I died in front of the registers. And guess what? They finished the rest of the round.
Oh, and I'm sure they looted you.
Oh, of course. I was like, yeah, please go loot my body. But then they went on to play like another, 14 minutes. And so my first experience of this game was absolutely terrible. I did not start off on a good foot with Tarkov at all.
That's like earlier today, you and I were playing a game. If you're teamed up, I mean, this bears, hardcore game. If you're teamed up, you get no outline on your teammate. You get no name tag. You get no nothing.
Yeah, you have no idea.
So if he's not right on your hip the whole time, then you don't know that it's your teammate at that point. And you and I we were following each other very closely, and we had to go around some train cars. Well, I went right and you went left, and I didn't know that.
Yep.
So as I'm coming around the right side and you come around the left side, I 100% think you are an enemy, and I start shooting at you.
Yeah.
You're like, you just instantly
like,
start yelling at me.
No, that's me.
I know. You're like, Josh, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, there's a bad guy. There's a bad guy. And you're like, no, that's me. And then I was like, oh. And then thankfully my aim is trash, so I completely missed you with every shot. But yeah, I mean, that's the fear in this game. And I mean, yes, that's hilarious, because I do remember my first match was the exact same way. As it's like you're doing the crouch dance and the jump, the jump thing, and it's like, okay, don't shoot me, like I'm your friend.
Yeah. So in Todd's defense, I'm sure he just all of a sudden sees a guy creep in, pointing a gun toward him, and he just lit me up, and it was just, and that is very easy to do when you team up in this game. It's very easy to end up killing a teammate. All right, so up to this point, we've been talking a lot about what this game feels like, the mechanics. Normally, we don't dive into mechanics quite so deep, but in this game, honestly, it's the mechanics that make it set apart from other games. But I'm just going to be open and honest. I hate this game. Hate it. I hate it so much. I've been very diplomatic about it up to this point, but I hate this game immensely. When we decided we were going to do it for the pod, I immediately kind of rolled my eyes. I didn't want to jump back into this game. I've tried to give it every chance. I play it duos with Todd. I've played duos with Josh. I've played solo. We've played in large groups. And I hate every iteration of this game. So we're going into my favorite segment this week, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, what?
And you
That's
know what?
A new segment.
Last week, I said we don't have to come up with 10 things, but let's talk about what we hate. Guess what, Josh? I got a list of 10 things that I hate about Tarkov. Okay.
I mean, I feel like I should just let you roll with this.
Some of these will be quick because we already covered them. Number 1, you have to use the Battle State Games Launcher. Add another one to the list.
That's
Congratulations, you get another one. Number 2, there's no in-game map and no in-game compass. So you're constantly lost in this game. You take a wrong turn or get into a firefight, you completely lose direction. Number 3, no way to distinguish your teammates in game. You just talked about that. Number 4, the party system is so stupid. You don't party up in the game and then queue together. Everybody individually has to select a map. They give you different time options for what time of day you want to play. After you go through all of this and ready up, then you can join together in a group, which I don't understand. It's stupid. Number 5, the scav runs on these, 20-minute timers. So if you have bad luck and you hop in, you immediately die, and you don't have any loot on your main character, you flat out just can't play. So you got to go play something else. Number 6, you have to pay money to heal in between every match.
I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to keep playing, you do.
Yeah, so when you die, or if you extract, they give you a little body, kind of like in the Fallout games, where it'll show damage to your different limbs. You have to pay to heal, or it takes quite a while for your guy to heal on his own. So again, now you have to pay currency that's kind of hard to come by in the game, or else you have to wait, and then you have to play later in the day. Number 7, okay, we haven't talked about insurance, other than me making the joke about you negotiating with Russian traders. Do you want to very briefly talk about how insurance works in this game?
Yeah, insurance is dumb. So because your gear is permanent, you don't want to lose it, right? So this takes a little bit of the edge off. You can pay money to insure your gear so that if you die, you will get your gear back, but that's only if they don't take your gear, right? Isn't
Correct.
it only if they don't loot it? So if your gear's crappy enough that they don't want your gear and they don't take it and they leave it on your corpse, then if you paid that insurance, the vendor will say, "Hey, here's your gear back." But you better claim it quickly too, because if you don't, the insurance runs out and then you lose it anyway.
Yes. So if someone else in the game kills you and they loot that gun, even if you have insurance on it, that gun's lost. So it's almost like you're hiring an NPC to go out and try to find your gear and then bring it back. So first of all, you can spend money on insurance. Doesn't mean you're going to get the gun back. And even if you do, you have to wait. So it's not like at the end of the match, it ends and you immediately get that gun. You have to wait a period of a certain number of hours before you have access to it again. So there's a long wait time even on insured items. Number 8, this game has multiple traders that you can buy items from. And they all sell different gear, so you're constantly going back and forth between all these different sellers. But here's my favorite part. You have to buy a magazine for your gun, and the magazine is empty. Then you have to go buy the bullets, drag the bullets into the magazine, then drag your magazine into your gun. So you can't just buy clips. Just let me buy a full clip. Why are you making me run all these shenanigans just to try to buy, rounds for my gun? And not only that, when you check these vendors, all the items are unknown. You have to click and say, examine item. So if you've ever played a game like Diablo, right? Like you can pick up a piece of gear and you don't see the stats. You have to go have Deckard Cain, inspect it, and now you can see the stats. It's exactly like that, but it's the vendor who sells 700 items. So I have to click examine on all these different bullets just to find 762 times 51. And now I found the right bullets. Now I can buy it. So the inventory is so frustrating. Number 9, I had split insurance. So you have to wait. And then the other one is it can still be looted by others and you don't get it anyway. And number 10, guns start off single fire every match.
That's the worst. Do you know how many times I've died because I go to light a guy up and then it's just boop.
Yep.
And then nothing else. And then it's like nothing else. And I'm like, why? No.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. And PUBG was the same way. Every gun started out single bullet. And this is the same way. So every single time, the very first thing you do is press B to try to switch to full auto. So, those are just 10 items that I thought we maybe wouldn't have covered in the show up to this point. Honestly, for me, it's the slow pace. You are constantly crawling everywhere. I hate the idea of looting for a long time and it's just all completely lost. I don't mind playing a battle royale and dying early. I can just pop into a new game. And I understand the appeal of wanting a high stakes looter like this. But to me, it's so incredibly slow. The inventory is so frustrating. You can't even see your teammates well. You accidentally shoot each other, and now you can't do anything. You get lost in these matches. I don't want to sound like a complete bummer, but like last week I talked about how much I love Far Cry 5. This game's the polar opposite, and I feel exactly the same way. It is such a chore to play this game, in my opinion.
I will say, for me, I don't have 10 things I hate about it. Honestly, I mean, I know your attitude towards the game. You touched on about everything that's bad with this game. In my opinion, I mean, those are the negatives. For me, some of those don't bother me quite as much, but the inventory system in this game is the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. I mean, like it's like you said, you've got to go to like 8 different vendors. You've got to sort through inventory. There's nothing that is user-friendly or natural in this game. Like, even to buy something from the vendor, you think you would just click on it and click buy, and that would be it. It would be in your inventory. No, you have to click it. You have to say how many you want, and then you've got to look around the screen and be like, dude, like, how do I buy this thing? And then there's just a little word up top that says deal. There's no box around it. There's no nothing to highlight it. You just have to know that you're supposed to click the word itself that says deal, and then you've got the gun. I mean, your inventory system is atrocious. I mean, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't know. I personally spent 5 minutes looking at bullets, trying to figure out which bullet fit my gun.
So did I. I never found bullets for one of my guns. I looted an FAL and needed a special type of 7.62. I never found it. I gave up. I said, forget it. I'll take the AK-74. I already have the ammo.
In the vendor menu, there's row upon row of bullets, and I think they're supposed to look different, but they look very, very similar for the most part. And then if you actually manage to locate the right bullet, you then have to locate the right magazine to put the bullets in, because there's 20 different magazines for guns. I mean, I like a lot about this game. I'm definitely more positive on it than you are, but the inventory system is an absolute nightmare. Like, honestly, I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but they should be fired.
Yeah, it's completely bonkers. The key bindings and the inventory are like created by monkeys. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like it seems like a human never played it. I want to ask you a question, non-sarcastically. Do you think that this game is fun, or do you find it to be an adrenaline rush, and that's the appealing part of this game? Do you understand what I mean?
I absolutely 100% know what you mean. And it's the adrenaline rush and it's the high stakes risk that I enjoy about this game. It's the terrifying, I don't want to lose my gear. And if I find gear, I really want to extract with it. And that's a very high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like that's that's the fun part of it for me, is like, yes, it's the challenge and it's that adrenaline rush and the racing pulse of like being in that situation. But the gameplay is not necessarily fun. You know what I mean? Like, I'm higher on it than you. So I was going to say, I could touch on some of the things that I like about the game, because I don't want to just slam it, because I think it is a good game and it's different than a lot of other games.
You have to be wired for what this game will give you.
Exactly. Yes. And I knowing you, I get why you don't like it. I do like it. I think that the adrenaline is there. I mean, there's a lot going for it, but I get exactly what you're saying, that you have to be wired to really enjoy the high risk.
Yes. Like, for someone like me, video games, I want to be fun, or I want them to be relaxing. And this game does not give me what I'm looking for from games. Like, if you're looking for excitement and you don't mind high blood pressure and high stakes, if you're someone who goes to Vegas and loves to just put all of it on the line and play high stakes poker, and if you lose, you're not going to be able to pay the rent next month, I feel like that's the type of personality that probably really loves this game. But if you're like me and you're risk averse and you just want to relax after a long, stressful day, this is not going to be the game for you whatsoever. So, maybe if you haven't played it yet, that might help whether or not to pick it up, because it is a $40 game. It's not super expensive, but it's also not terribly cheap. So I think this game's incredibly polarizing. You either really, really like it or you really hate it. So I have a couple of reviews here from Google Reviews, because since this game's in beta, it's not on Metacritic, and there are no reviews on Battlestate Games launcher. So I was able to pour through reviews on Google, and these reviews are from a scale of 1 to 5. And I thought I'd go ahead and read a few and kind of get your reaction to these, Josh. I did get a good mix of positive and negative reviews. And the first one here is a 2 out of 5 review. A soulless, poorly optimized grind. Extremely light on content and prohibitively obtuse in every respect. Some will hold this up as proof of how, quote, hardcore the game is. To each their own. The maps are bland and without any real touch of environmental storytelling. Blah, blah, blah. He goes on to complain about getting disconnected from games. I don't think we've ever been disconnected, but I do think the guy has a point. It is a little soulless and it's prohibitively obtuse. I thought those were spot on.
Prohibitively obtuse is a fantastic definition.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why did you guys design things this way? Like, why is the inventory system like this? Like, why are the vendors like this? Why is there, just give me a compass, man. I'm not saying you got to give me a map, okay? But yeah. Let me know which direction I'm facing.
Or let me just search inside the vendors for 762 times 51, and then I can go find my ammo. Just give me anything that isn't prohibitively obtuse.
Yeah.
All right. Next review, 5 out of 5. Best game I've ever played. Not for the faint of heart. It's the FPS MMO equivalent of Dark Souls. Very punishing, but incredibly satisfying. I haven't been on the edge of my seat or have my heart pumping like this ever before in a video game. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
That's a fair review. Like, honestly, for people that like the game, I can sympathize with that guy. I can see where he's coming from. I like difficult games. This game's a challenge, but it's a challenge in, like, the interface, in the game itself.
Yeah, it's challenging in odd ways.
Right. It's not the like, oh, it's me against you is the challenge and we're going to have some, like, awesome firefight, which that can happen, but that's not always what the challenge is.
Yeah, sometimes the challenge is, I don't know how many bullets are in my magazine and it just ran out and yours just happened to be half full and so you get the kill. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. All right, next review here is 1 out of 5. This one might have been my favorite. It's a little bit lengthy, but I like what he has at the end. One thing alone makes me leave 1 star for this game, and that is the fact that when you die, your character takes damage that you have to heal after the round is over with money, otherwise you start the next round severely handicapped. If you don't have in-game currency to spend to heal yourself, you can simply wait in real time to heal. So I hope you have another game to play while you wait for Lieutenant Dan to grow his legs back so you can play another round. This sort of mechanic might be acceptable on a free-to-play platform, but certainly not for a paid game. That is kind of funny. For such a realistic game that you actually bleed out and die and your legs get blown off, that they just regenerate over time. So I did think that was a little bit funny.
I don't understand that mechanic. I get that mechanic for a free-to-play game because that's the, hey, let's slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
But in a paid game, like, why? Why do you want me to not play your game?
Exactly.
I don't understand that part at all either. So,
and you either have to make the healing such a low amount of currency that it's not prohibitively, negatively affecting your experience. But then if you're lowering the amount of currency, then everyone's going to do it anyway. So why even have it in the game? So all you're literally doing is preventing people from being able to play more. And I don't understand that.
100%. If you extract wounded, I get that you would need to go to, like, a doctor and pay them to heal up, but you just got away with a bunch of loot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, hey, if I extract with a broken leg, like, I get that I might need to pay, but if I'm dead, like, why am I paying somebody to heal me up for the next round?
Yeah, it's a little bit goofy. I mean, it's a neat concept where if you're perpetually playing, you're gonna have to heal up, but yeah, it's a little strange. And then the last review here that I pulled, 5 out of 5. It's an amazing inventory management game where you occasionally have to kill people.
Touche, buddy.
You spend more time in the menus adjusting your equipment than you do playing.
You know what's funny is, I mean, how many times have you and I been playing in a map where we're walking around and we see a guy that's just standing still?
Oh, every game.
Like, you know, he's literally not moving because he's in his inventory.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, there's a guy, boop, boop, he's dead. And it's like,
yeah,
he wasn't AFK because he starts running the second he hears gunshots, you know, but it's just that, yeah, it's an inventory simulator.
Oh, it's so funny. And when I read that review, I was like, yeah, I never thought to call it that. We joke about PUBG being a walking simulator, and Tarkov is an inventory management simulator.
That's, oh man.
That cracked me up. All right, so Google reviews, there were, I believe, 200 of them. It's a scale from 0 to 5.0. So, Josh, what's your guess? What do you think the community rated Escape from Tarkov?
3.9.
Okay, I jotted down 3.4, and it's 3.7. So you're closer.
I win.
But it was, right in between our guesses. All right, so you're a little bit closer there, Josh. So go ahead and transition us into Make Love, Marry, Murder.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the segment that y'all came here for. It's Make Love, Marry, or Murder. We know where Paul's going with this one. Paul, get it out of the way.
Do you want me to get out? Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
Murder. I hate it. The best rounds that we have had, I felt more a sense of relief than a sense of fun. And if I were to marry this game, this is just domestic violence and abuse. That's all it is. Why would I date or marry it at this point? So I'm not going to commit whatsoever. I would go back in time and reverse ever paying for this game and ever playing it if I had the opportunity.
I'm gonna make love to it. There's a lot to like about this game, and I'm wired differently, and I get that. You know, to me, I enjoy the high stakes. I enjoy that adrenaline rush. I mean, I will definitely pop into this game, you know, to play a solo match from time to time just for that excitement. I think it helps if you know that I don't care a ton about how much money I have, as long as I've got some guns that I can pop into a match with and, you know, at least give it a go.
Right.
So I think that helps a little bit. I don't see myself playing this game long term. Like, you know, this is definitely not a marry for me. I think for some people, they're gonna love it, man. You know, and if you're that kind of person, I see this being a good marriage for some people.
Yeah, a really interesting aspect of all the reviews when I was reading them is how all of the positive ones say, yes, you'll be a noob for the first 800 hours. Or they'll say, it's so punishing as you learn this game and it'll take you forever and then it's fun. And I'm just sitting here reading these thinking, there are so many games to play that are free or cheap. You know, you don't have to put in the time to learn how to play this game.
Right.
But I will say, if this game is up your alley, it is such a niche game. There's nothing else like it. So if this is your cup of tea, you have nowhere else to go. So this would be a marry for a lot of people, but just not for me especially, but not even really for you. You know, you're having fun now, but like you said, it's not going to be a forever type game.
Yeah, no, I readily know myself enough to say that I won't play this game for a real long time.
Yeah.
So,
all right, well, let's go ahead and transition here to the leaderboard where we'll compare it to the other games that we've reviewed up to this point.
I feel like this is going to be a battle, Paul.
All right, leaderboard, Josh. There's no way we're putting this in the top half. So we've reviewed a total of 15 games up to this point. There's no way we're putting it above the likes of Valorant or Far Cry or The Cycle. Not a chance.
No.
So bottom half here, starting at number 10 to 15, we have Civ 6, RimWorld, GTFO, Halo Reach, Sea of Thieves, and Overcooked 2. What are you thinking for Tarkov before I force it further down the list?
I think for me, it's somewhere in the Civ 6, RimWorld, or GTFO range.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. I don't want to take anything away from Tarkov because there's a lot to like here for a lot of people. And so I think this is simply for us. You know what I mean? This is not to slander the game. This is not to say, hey, you shouldn't try this game. But on our leaderboard, you know what I mean? It's like, where do I see this game fit into the other games that are on there? And for me, I would probably put it somewhere in that Civ 6, RimWorld, GTFO. I'm leaning in between like Civ 6 and RimWorld maybe, or RimWorld and GTFO.
I would rather play Halo Reach online right now than play this game. I would rather play Sea of Thieves. And if you want to hear me rail on games, you can go back and listen to those. All right. I would put this game dead last. And it's not even, really? I don't even have to think about it. It's dead last.
I know that Todd likes this game because I talked to Todd before the episode and he said, hey, I let people know that I really do like this game. So let's do this. We can't put it 15. You know what I mean? That's just terrible. Why don't we do this? GTFO is a hardcore shooter based game, right? It's team based. It's not solo based like Tarkov is. I do believe that I would rather on occasion pop into GTFO once I'm done with the initial fun of Tarkov. So how about we put it just below GTFO?
I think Todd and I would both say Halo is better than Tarkov. There's no way, Todd.
Oh, you're pulling the Todd Halo feather out of your cap?
You brought Todd into the conversation, buddy.
Oh, man.
Todd and I would both say we would rather play Halo Reach. And I'd rather gouge my eyeballs out than play Halo Reach.
I think Tarkov's way better than Halo, man.
I think we have to put it 14, man. Todd would be with me. Todd would agree that Halo is better.
Todd thinks Halo belongs in the top 5.
I mean, irrelevant. We would both say it's better. It has to go 14. I'll concede 2 spots.
Give me 13. And that's the best slap in the face to Todd to rank it just above Halo. Come on.
Todd just had a birthday, and then the following day he had his son, and we're going to insult Todd by putting this game above Halo.
By 1 spot above Halo.
For the comedic factor, let's do it.
Yes!
All right.
Yes!
13.
Right. I owe you one, Paul. I owe you one. You
Tarkov
call
at 13.
It in one. Just remember, be like, you remember that time that I let you put Tarkov 1 above Halo, and I got you.
And all Todd, eat dirt.
Eat dirt, Todd.
Eat our butts. We are putting this game above Halo. All right.
Oh.
So we got a pretty good, leaderboard here running. If you guys have never checked it out, come check out multiplayerpodcast.com. You can also check us out, on Twitter. We have links to our main page, but you can find us at Multiplayer Pod. And on our main page, just scroll down. You'll see a list where, just based on our own personal preferences, we try to rank all these games for what we would rather play, on an average day. And so, that's where we put Tarkov, right near the bottom.
We're going to have to revisit the leaderboard.
Because, absolutely.
Like, there's some games on here that I'm looking at and I'm like, this deserves to be higher. And then there's some games where I'm like, this might deserve to be a little bit lower.
I completely agree.
We might actually have to do a leaderboard, like, revisit episode at some point, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're kind of coming up here at the end of the show. Any last things you would want to toss in there about Tarkov that you want our listeners to hear?
If you like hardcore games and you like shooters and you like that aspect, I mean, you will probably love this game. There is a lot to like about it. There will be people that disagree. That's okay. You know what I mean? If you disagree, let us know. Tell us what we're missing. We're not going to get our feelings hurt by any means.
Yeah, it doesn't say as much about Tarkov as much as our list has been mostly good or at least decent games up to this point. And I think it has more to say about that than about Tarkov. There will be games that are going to come later that'll be below Tarkov and below Overcooked. So we'll definitely see that. The last thing that I would throw out about Tarkov is that I would highly recommend not just buying the game and then trying it out. Go watch some streamers, watch some YouTube footage. I would not watch anything that's a compilation. Watch an actual full match. Preferably a streamer so you can see all the inventory because they're probably not going to capture that on most videos. And I think that'll give you a good indication whether or not this game might be up your alley. And if you love dragging bullets, searching for bullets as a needle in a haystack, and dragging them to your bag and dragging them into magazines that you can't find, hey, if that's your cup of tea, go for it, man. That's all I have to say. It's not for me, might be for you.
What are we playing next week?
Next week we are going to be busting out a game that's not terribly well known, but it's a very clever 2-player game called A Way Out. And this is a game that I actually bought on Origin the day it came out. It's very unique in that only one person has to buy it, and then you can actually have a friend of yours play for free on your game, and you play a split screen game where the two of you are inmates at a prison and you are working together to try to escape. And so Josh and I have dabbled into it a little bit. We have not completed the story mission yet. We're going to be doing that here during the week. If you want to check it out, you can find it on Origin. It's relatively cheap. I want to say it's 15 or 20 bucks. So, go ahead and check out A Way Out if you'd like to on Origin. And then we'll be back next week with that show. And just come check us out on social media. Hit us up on Twitter at MultiplayerPod. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the leaderboard. We'd love to hear suggestions for games you'd like us to cover. And, we do respond to our messages. Josh does a great job running our social media accounts. He would love to interact with you guys on there. And every once in a while, I have to comment and, defend myself when Josh throws out some barbs at me. But, I do get on there a little bit as well. So thanks so much for joining us, everybody. It was great having you. Until next week. I don't even know what to say about Tarkov. Yeah.
Yet. Babushkas.
Okay, that's the end of the show. See you next week.
I don't even know what that is. See you guys.
Isn't it like Polish for grandma or something?
Yeah, that's right. I think. I really hope I didn't just cuss at somebody.
It is a Polish or Russian old woman or grandmother. I win.